Conflict is proliferating around the world, and our region is not exempt from this. Things are getting bad even in the region. North Korea, South Korea, Philippines potentially will one day have a boxer as a president. The instability in Thailand, Myanmar, it's a dangerous place and war is imminent. And Malaysia, I think, really needs to start looking at what we're going to do about it. Now, countries around the world, what they do about it is they arm, and they arm, and they arm. And they spend more and more money every year on the... they spend more and more money every year on... Countries spend more and more money every year on their defense budgets. Now, is this a sustainable option for Malaysia? I think not. Let's have a look at Singapore for a moment. Okay, this is Singapore. It's a satellite image of Singapore. Don't train your eyes too hard on the image because it's not about what's in the image, it's what's beneath the surface. Now, our mildly intelligent sources tell us that Singapore houses warehouses of weapons of mass destruction underneath the city-state. Now, it's widely known that Singapore also has got multiple highways that they can have a snap of a finger and turn into emergency runways. 90% of their male population above the age of 18 are war-ready. Singapore, this puny nation right next to us, can kick our ass anytime. Yes, I know Singapore spends $5.8 billion a year on defense, and Malaysia just 3.4, but with the leakages that happen in our government, with our incompetence, and with our laughable national service program, I don't think the answer is to spend more money. So, Mr. Prime Minister, what I really want to propose is that we get to the heart of the issue. Really, we need to ask ourselves, what is the root cause of war? That's my hello minister. Can we really, in all fairness, say that the root cause of war lies, or the blame of war lies in these despotic, insane leaders, Kim Jong-il, Ahmadinejad, George W. Bush? Can we really say that it's their fault that all these wars are happening around the world? I don't think so. Some people kind of put the blame on war on racial and religious prejudice. But is that really the source of war? I mean, this guy is not a terrorist, he's my chiropractor. He's not quite my chiropractor, but my chiropractor looks exactly like this. He's got one of these long, scary beards, and he wears these long robes. But what I'm trying to say is prejudice, is racial and religious prejudice really the cause of conflict around the world? Some people put the blame of war on the scarceness of resources. Countries are wrangling for limited resources, and therefore we are forced to kind of go for war. It's inevitable. Now, while I think on the surface, a lot of wars are started for these reasons, I don't think that this is the heart of the issue. And I think really the heart of the issue is, the real cause of war is ignorance. Tragically, man has forgotten who he truly really is. Who am I? Who are we? What is our purpose here? A purely materialistic conception of reality has kind of overtaken us in the 20th century, and we view ourselves purely as materialistic physical beings. It's all about me, my economy, my security, my survival, and the other person becomes automatically an enemy. And I think we really need to relook at this question: who are we? Are we, as human beings, just purely animals? Are we pleasure seekers that are meant to live our lives, enjoy it, and then die? And I think this is one of the root causes of war. And if we talk about prejudice, I think the source of prejudice, really racial and religious prejudice, is the inability of ourselves to recognize who the other person really is. Now, 88% of the world believe in God and in religion and in the existence of a soul. But how come we don't kind of use this as a marker of looking at each other and looking at ourselves? Now, I propose, Mr. Prime Minister, that really getting to the heart of the issue, if we're really going to deal with ignorance, true defense does not lie in rearming ourselves, but true defense lies in education. Now this is what I propose. I propose that we must revamp our education system in a way that even 5 and 6-year-olds can answer the question, who are we? Who am I? And how we're meant to do that, I propose, is that we have a focus on subjects of history and religion. I feel there needs to be a re-investigation into the reality of man, and this needs to start at the youngest age possible. I think Christian kids need to learn how to prostrate themselves on carpets and pray and learn humility. I think Muslim kids need to learn how to break coconuts in temples. You know, I think we need to kind of break down these barriers that we put up due to our ignorance and start to realize our common humanity. Start to see each other's faiths as one unfolding common faith of God. I think this is the source of the problem. On top of that, I think we need to just move away from perceiving ourselves, move away from this exam-oriented system and move towards a more service-oriented system. At the end of the day, Mr. Prime Minister, what I'm proposing is that these kids come out of school with the idea that they are altruistic world citizens and their purpose is really to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. I want to bring generations of men and women up with this kind of thinking. On top of that, I want to demilitarize. All the Eurocopters that we just bought, all the French submarines, we put students in them and we take them on geology trips. I think we need to start getting rid of our stockpile of weapons as well. And I think we need to do this gradually over time, and ultimately, I think there is one weapon of mass destruction that's not in the hands of the Ministry of Defense at this point, it's in the hands of the people. And I'd like to call upon Mark. We've got a sample of this weapon here. It's a very dangerous weapon. Thank you. Now this is a very dangerous weapon of mass destruction. I'm going to pass it around, and I propose that we begin to ban this weapon. Please show it to people. Please do not use it. It's very dangerous. You may pass it around. See, this is what happens. People are power hungry. Sorry. Am I quite kinky? No. Mr. Prime Minister, look who's talking. Okay. Next up, besides demilitarization. Oh, I've done that. Okay. Now, when we start to view each other as world citizens, then concepts like One Malaysia become very old school. And I think even a concept like wawasan, duoplo, we're all moving towards becoming what? Do we really want to become like all these developed nations? So developed on the outside, but something really missing on the inside? I suggest, Mr. Prime Minister, that we chuck these. Okay. I think we also have to recognize that over time, we eventually have to suspend absolute sovereignty. Now, I don't think any government in the world should have the full right to do anything and everything they wanted to their environment just because it's within their borders, or do anything and everything they wanted to the people of that country just because it's within their borders. So this is what I propose. I propose we get an idea about a world vision. We set this as the ultimate goal for our nation. And we work towards getting one ASEAN first, one Asia, but of course with the ultimate view of kind of moving towards a world government of some sort. And this is how I propose we suspend our sovereignty to some degree. This would of course mean a world education system, a world auxiliary language that will reduce the need for Mongolian translators. I suggest this is the direction we must move in. Essentially, this is what I'm talking about, Mr. Prime Minister. We need to start looking at the earth as one country and mankind its citizens. Now, I know I've only got 1 minute left. I know there's going to be a bit of an election going on later on. Now, I know our country and our cabinet is full of really kind of competent ministers, with high moral integrity, and some who are very eloquent. So, but I propose that we do not elect one person later on. Now, I want you to know that if you vote for me, you're not voting for me, but you're voting for at least 5 or 6 people to sit on this council that will take and share the responsibilities of the Prime Minister. Okay, I think the last thing you want is Chitu to be Prime Minister. I think even less than that, you don't want me to be Prime Minister. Okay, so Najib Razak, those are my proposals. Please chew on it. Thank you very much.